What's up, y'all? It's your boy Charles. We are checking out Mike Epps' biography, Unsuccessful Thug. It's an audio book that you can check out on Audible. Audible YouTube. No, I'm sorry, Audible YouTube. Audible website. Y'all can go and check out Unsuccessful Thug. But we're going to get into chapter 3. Hit the thumbs up button.
Now, my mom loved me, but was she proud of me back in those days? I don't know about that. I was a real funny kid, but I ran fucking wild. When she was showing off her kids, she'd say, "This is Robbie. He plays football and music. This is Julie. She designs clothes and sews. John does martial arts." The house at Carrollton and Dirty Third. So there was my dad, Tommy, who I shared with Cheney, and then there was Robert, who was Robbie, John, and Julie's dad. And sometimes they would visit at the same time. And sometimes when they did, they were a little bit wasted and feeling emotional. Awkward. Two drunk men in the driveway, both yelling for their kids. It looked like a cab stand at the end of the night. Sometimes they would throw punches at each other because they were both still in love with my mother. We didn't care if they were drunk, though. We all loved our dads, and one another's dads, too. Both our dads treated us all equal, as if we were theirs. My dad always said Julie was the daughter that he never had. Still, all us kids thought, when it came down to it, that our dad was the toughest, the smartest, and the strongest. We could argue all day about it. Cheney and I would say Tommy was the best. Julie, John, and Robbie would say Robert was the best. After fighting about it for hours, we'd ask my mom to break the tie. "Ain't neither one of them shit," she'd say, like Judge Judy. Then one day a new guy came along, Reggie. A nice guy, younger, lots of energy. My mom always liked younger men, and they liked being with a confident, pretty older lady. Usually I didn't like the guys my mom brought around besides Tommy and Robert. All I knew about them was they always ate our cereal. But this Reggie seemed like a good guy, and he fell in love with my mom. He was a good-hearted dude, and he wasn't only nice, he also had a good job working at a publishing company. He even liked us 5 kids and seemed okay with being a stepdad. He was the answer to my mom's prayers, and it just kept getting better. "Quit your job," Reggie told my mom. "I'll take care of you and your kids."
Hell no.
That was a bold move right there. 5 kids, and there Reggie was saying he'd take responsibility for all of us. Eventually, Reggie and my mother got married and had 2 boys of their own, our little brothers Aaron and Nathan, whom we all loved. Man, those were some flush years. My mother would take us to Reggie's job on Friday to pick his check up, and then we'd go grocery shopping. We had food in the house, and Reggie seemed to make my mom so happy. I say we were flush. Actually, we had enough, but never extra. I was bad at math, but even I knew that 7 was a lot of children to feed on one paycheck.
Damn.
The second food hits the table.
Looking for a professional photographer for your next big event? Need video of your special day? Then look no further. For $100 an hour, have a professional photographer or videographer shoot your wedding, birthday party, quinceañera, bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, anniversary party, or whatever your special occasion may be. Highlight your event with professional, crisp photos and video. Check out Charles Arness Photography on Instagram, as well as book us for your next event. Must live in the Southern California area.
Everyone's racing to eat as much as possible as quickly as possible. When you have that many kids in the house, it's like the real Hunger Games. If we ever came into possession of any kind of treat, we would have to eat it right then, even if we weren't hungry. You can't hide candy when you're surrounded by that many kids, because even if you come up with the most brilliant hiding spot in the entire world, someone is going to sniff it out. My brother John once got a honey bun and wanted to save it until after dinner so he could really savor it. Well, we all loved honey buns, so he knew he'd have to squirrel it away if he wanted it to survive in that house for a few hours. He came up with a pretty good spot, at the very back of the fridge behind the baking soda. Well, my brother Cheney and I still found that honey bun way in the back. We had to move about 500 bottles of expired mustard and ketchup out of the way to do it. But we got it, and it was delicious. John learned a valuable lesson that day about eating honey buns the second you get them. By the time I was in second grade or so, Reggie was supporting all of us at a house on Carrollton and 33rd Street. He was a stable father figure, and our actual dad still dropped by sometimes to see us, and to fight over our mom like always. It was a nice house in a neighborhood full of kids. That was the happiest time I can remember. Not like it made too much difference to my behavior. I still acted bad. In fact, once I was so bad, my family still talks about it all the time. Seriously, if you meet them, they'll say, "Nice to meet you. Did Mike tell you about the bowling alley?" Yeah, so here's the bowling alley story. Sometimes my mom or Reggie or the aunts and uncles would take us kids to the Indianapolis airport because you could watch the planes take off. We'd never been on a plane, so we couldn't get enough of it. Also, they had arcade games and a bowling alley at the airport, so if we did get tired of watching planes, there was plenty of other stuff to do. One Halloween, soon after my mom and Reggie got together, we got taken to the airport bowling alley. Aunt Angela was the fun aunt. She's the one who took us to the bowling alley. There were a lot of us, so no one noticed right away when I wandered off. There was some kind of tournament going on. Money on the line, high pressure. It was fun to watch them getting all stressed out. I wandered over to the concession stand and watched the guy making hot dogs and pouring Cokes. Then I found the utility room. The door was unlocked, so I stepped inside. There were a lot of switches and buttons in there. I wondered if this was what it felt like to fly a plane, to man switches. I wondered what would happen if I pulled one. I flipped a breaker. The room went dark. And so did the whole bowling alley. The soda machine went off, the scoreboards, the ball return system. People started screaming. Someone ran to the room and found the breaker and turned it back on, then found me there looking guilty as hell. I got perp walked back to my family past a lot of people going ape nuts. They'd lost their scores. They dropped a ball on their foot. They'd bumped into things. I thought they should be glad that I hadn't hit the airport light switch instead and made the planes all land on top of each other. My Aunt Angela grabbed my arm and said, "You're going home. That's it." And the manager of the bowling alley made a big deal of escorting us out. "I want to stay," I begged Aunt Angela. "No," she said, "you are going home. All your cousins are going to stay here and bowl as long as they want to, but you are going back home and sitting in your room alone, because you don't listen." I cried and cried as she hauled me back to Carrollton and 33rd. Reggie and my mom tried to discipline me for that and for all the other bad shit I did. I was always getting spanked, getting grounded, getting things taken away. Once I laughed at a kid who had gotten burned, and Reggie held my hand over a fire to teach me how much it hurt. I can't say it made me be better. There were some nights I cried myself to sleep after getting beat.
Damn.
You can argue for or against spanking, but I will say I slept so well those nights. You sleep like a baby after your mama jumps on your ass. It's better than Valium. Then came the ultimate you better fucking behave now moment in my life. When I was in 4th grade, black kids started to get bused from my neighborhood to a rich white school called Steve Decatur. An hour and a half each way. It might as well have been a spaceship taking us to a different planet. We went to school all day with white kids, and then the bus brought us back to our community and we'd have to make sense of all the shit we'd seen. It was like you were a fucking explorer returning from a trip to the new world. I made a couple of white friends, Tom Roach, Rusty Day, but still, being in that place was discombobulating. I really didn't know any white people until I went to school with them. I lived in a black neighborhood and everyone except the cops was black. So until I went to Stephen Decatur, I wasn't even really aware of racism because we just didn't see white people that often. My mom did have one white friend she'd work with, a nice lady named Marcy. Marcy brought her son Richie over to play with us, so while my mom and Marcy would be talking their girl talk in the kitchen, we kids would be hanging out. Because Richie was white, he was unusual in our neighborhood, so we would bring him out and show him around like a rare baseball card. Step right up, here we have a white boy. Richie could hang, mostly, but eventually we would start to play rough, like swinging off of shit or starting up a game of tackle football, and he would end up running in the house crying. So it wasn't until I started at the white school that I started to see what growing up black in America meant. I started to realize that kids like my guy Richie and I were going to have different sorts of lives. Pretty much the only time white people came in our neighborhood, it was the cops or the fucking fire department. And that wasn't ever a good day, you know? They never showed up to bring us ice cream or tell us how great we were. They were usually coming to take away someone we liked after they roughed him up in front of us, or to put out a fire. The idea of the busing was, I guess, to give us poor black kids a shot at what they call a good education and to show the white kids how the other half lives or something. I guess they thought it would be good for all of us in one way or another, but I don't know that it worked out like they'd hoped. The black kids were so confused to be there at all. Back in our neighborhood, we all knew the teachers and we all walked to school. Then this busing experiment started and everything changed. All we'd ever heard about Decatur was that they'd had the National Guard come out because they were burning crosses. I can still remember the look on the white kids' faces when we showed up. It wasn't like they stood waiting for us with welcome signs and open arms. It wasn't the most inclusive place in the world. You feel me? Stephen Decatur was basically down the road from Ku Klux Klan headquarters back in the bad old days. Fun fact, in the 1920s, 250,000 people in Indiana belonged to the Klan. To get elected back then, a politician had to have the Klan's support. Fast forward to 1980, when Cheney and I and some other poor black people showed up to go to school with those kids' great-grandkids. Well, not a lot had changed. People weren't saying they were in the Klan so much anymore, but
anyway, y'all, this is the guy who's narrating this book is really good. I like him. He's really dope. He kind of captures a lot of Mike Epps' cadence and stuff like that, like the way he talks and everything. But I'm still tripping. You know what's funny? Back in those days, in the late 70s, early 80s, dudes would actually step up and take care of a woman and kids that he didn't have with her. You know, it's funny. Back in those days, dudes didn't mind being stepdaddies back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they really liked the girl, like, oh, you got 7 kids, okay, I'll take care of you and them 7 kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's what I want to know is the dude Reggie, I wonder, did he have any kids before he got with Mike Epps' mom? Because if he didn't have any kids, that was a dumb move. Ain't no way hell I'm finna not have no kids and get with a woman with 5 kids and then have 2 more with her. So now I gotta take care of my 2 and help her with her 5. Oh hell no, that's a lot. I don't get. Definitely times have changed. Cause shit, ain't no way in hell. Ain't that much love in the world. I remember when women used to say, well, if you want to be with me, you gotta accept me and my kids. Shit. That was stuff they used to say. A woman say that now, dude be, I don't know, it's a lot of simpish dudes out there that don't mind. But then again, it's a lot of cats out there, a lot of men out there that can't have kids. So they wouldn't mind getting with a woman, helping her raise her children if he doesn't have any. But if I'm fully functional and my shit work, I want to have my own. Why the hell am I? Help me, you know, especially I want to have mine with somebody who hasn't had any. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that takes the fun out of it. when you get with a woman who already has a bunch of kids and you don't have any, and then you have your first one with her. Because I've heard stories about that. I had a friend tell me about that, how he ended up getting with this woman who had 4 kids, and he had never had any kids, and then they had got together and they had a kid together, and he was all excited and enthusiastic about it. But being that she already had been through it 4 times before this one, she was like, oh, whatever. Like, it wasn't a big deal. Like, she knew the process. She had been through it 4 times. So it was like, my 5th kid, my last kid, whatever. Like, and he was all happy. And I remember him telling me there, he was like, man, Charles, when you have your kids, man, make sure you have it with somebody who doesn't have any. Because when I had my first kid with her, his girlfriend at the time, he said that she kind of wasn't enthusiastic about it because she had already been through it 4 times. So it kind of took the wind out of the excitement, being he was all excited because this was, because this was his first. And she was like, whatever. I love, just get this over with so I can go home. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, what do y'all think about this book, man? Unsuccessful Thug by Mike Epps. Leave your comments and subscribe to Charles and His Work. Appreciate it.
For more of these fascinating stories and true crimes, subscribe to Charles Arnis World. Thanks for watching.